Welcome back. So in this video, I'm just going to show you a lot more about files. And I'm going to write some algorithms for you so that you can go ahead and implement certain things. We're at a very crucial stage that when I show you like everything, you don't get to be able to think algorithmically. So it's nice I show you a fragment of a couple of things and then you can get the message and you can be able to develop your own way of doing things. And that's right there is the science of programming. So you're welcome. Right now, I wanted to create an app, which I have written a few lines of code, and I'm going to show you now, that uses files to manipulate an object that has two attributes. So the object is called a person object, and it has two attributes. First attribute is the first name, and the second attribute is the last name. This is a fantastic demo because you can extend the attributes list if you want. You can also get to see things like how to capture a new person, in this case that's the object, and store it in a file. And you can see how the file can be manipulated and how everything can be displayed back. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So in this video you can see I already have some predefined interface, and you can do better than me when it comes to interface design. So by all means, please make your interface user-friendly. And you can see there's a tab here called New Person. In this tab, this whole place will appear empty, and the person can enter, the user can enter first name and last name and click Save. When they click Save, the assumption is that whatever they've typed goes straight to a file. There's another tab here called View All. And again, remember in your to-do list app, I said you have to create the app such that you can view one to-do list at a time. And that's what I've tried to demonstrate for you here. And again, the source code is here and it's free. The two other functionalities include editing and deleting. Those two functionalities are a lot easier from where we are now. So I'm going to write algorithms for them towards the end of this video, and you can go ahead and do them. All right, fantastic. Let's see what we got. So first name, last name, you know interface design, you know the story. So the question is, when I click save, what do I want? I want to save first name and last name in a file such that I can reuse it later. And the best way to separate it in that file is to save it on a line and separate it with a comma. So if I separate first name and last name with a comma, then I know if I split it to the left, I get the first name, to the right, I get the last name. The split function works, and the left is position 0, the right is position 1. Everything looks just perfect. All right, so let's see the algorithm I have in my save. I want to remind you that because we're in object orientation, it's nice to create object called person so that it's easily manipulatable. And I can write more algorithms that take this person object and create new person and things like that. We'll look at that. Save. So here, I'm just going to collapse some of my interface, some of my windows. Here, when I say save, what happens? Again, this is what I told you about. So the line I want to save, I say it's whatever it's in the first name, convert it to string. It's already in string, just to be sure. With a comma in between and whatever the last name says. But because I want, after storing this, I want it to go to the next line. So I'm going to say environment.newline. So that's a command in C# that attaches a new line character to your string for you. All right, that looks well. Then I'll call my file object, append or text. Of course, you've seen that means whatever it's in this file, add this line to that file. Again, file name is not defined in this context, so we have to go to the top of the class. There are some variables I've declared in the class in this instance. One is file name. I decided to say, you know what, my file is going to be in this folder. Let me show you guys quickly. So there's this folder called test and persons.txt. And those are the names I have, the persons I have in my file for now. I've got Teboho, I've got John Doe, myself, Chelsea, Clarissa Umpo, and John Travolta. All right. So, the question is, why did I put at in front of this quote? If I remove it, I may run into problems because in C#, single slash represents an escape character. So /n, for example, means new line in some context. /p also means something different. So to make sure that you specify that I intend this whole thing to be a string, then you do that in C#. All right, that's it. What I wanted to do before I even get into any method in this class is to define attributes. File name is best I do this here so that I don't write this file name every time I need to use it. And I can create a list of objects called person list, and for now I can make it new. Why do I want to do that? Because when I take all of the persons from the file, I want to store them in this list so that I can use them in the application. Then scroll index is important because when I get to the view, if I view, let's say there are 20 items, if I view to the last one, it will be item 19 because it's zero index, the array list is zero index. So the scroll index allowed me to manage where I am. And let's say the person has viewed the last one to the left, and they say they want to view another one. So and the index of the last one is 0, so I have to be able to tell that person that, sorry, you cannot because it's going to be -1 and there's no item in position -1. So that's it. Now you understand this, all right? Don't forget to always put in your system.io when you're using files. This when your formation initialized, you didn't write that code. I did not write it either. We'll leave that just the way it is. So when you say save, what happens? You've seen what happens here. I get to the line, which is first name and last name with a new line at the back of it. Append.text to specify the file. The file name is private to this class, so this is known by the class, which is C/text/persons. A line is whatever line we've declared here. And the moment that's done, I want to display a message box to say saved. And one thing I want to also do is to clear the text boxes so that the person is ready to enter another person. Good. So let's enter a particular person and see how this works. Here I'm just gonna go for Kyle. Off. Okay. Save. Say saved, and that's it. So if I go here, for example, and I click that, you can see that Kyle off is already there now. So it's working fine. The save is working fine. One more person. Keegan. I think there's an A there. Young. Right, save, saved, good. I come back here, I see it's all there. So it's working fine. All right. So this is our save. However, when I get into this part, which is the view all part, I expect to be able to step through them one after the other. All right, so I'm going to show you how it works, then I'm going to go to the code to show you how the code works. The moment I went to view all, I saw the first person in my list. So, which is Teboko Siale, that's the first one. All right, and when I say next, I want to see John Doe, Bijola, Chezi, Goliath, Clarissa Magunde, Mpo Sephoro, and the list goes on to Kigayon. And when I click it one more time, it tells me this is the last person. And if I go previous, it keeps stepping back. If I click again another previous, it tells me this is the first person. So I need to show you the lines of code that enabled the previous and last and next and that, all of that. Okay, so let's go back to our code. Here we are, we've seen this. So I'm going to go back to the form and show you the other tabs. So the first thing I want to do is to load every person in the file the moment the user switches to this view. So this is a tab, and a tab has an event called enter. So when you enter a tab, so you can see this enter event here. So when you have a tab and you enter that tab, you can write a piece of code for it. All right, so that's what we did. We said, since we're in this tab, what do we do first? We don't care if the person list already has some persons in it. We want to clear it first. So I'm clearing a list in .NET is C# is .clear. All right, that's fine. You want to then load all of this. If we don't clear, what may happen is we might just have loaded this in our previous entrance to that tab. And now we go to that tab second time, then it's going to double the list for us. and we don't want that. So every time we enter into that lab, we want to first, or that tab, we want to clear the list first, and now load it. How do you load? We can first read all lines from that file. This is going to give us a list of lines. It's going to return a string or an array list of strings. All right. Then for each allows us to step through each line in that list, and each time we can create a fresh person object. Then we know that whatever line it is, the position 0 will be the first name, position 1 will be the last name, so we split that. Then before that loop goes to the next person and the next line in the file, we add it to this person list. The person list belongs to this old class, so that variable is preserved. And when the time this loop is done, we know that every person in that list has had an object created for them, and all those objects have been added to the person list. All right, that's it. Because we're hitting this page for the first time, also, we want to set the scroll index to be 0 so that the person can see the first thing. Then we have methods called move to next. All right. Move to next takes a scroll index and then goes to that next page. And one thing we want to do anytime is to check if we are still within the range. So if you're going forward, all right, and you are still less than the number of persons in that list, then you can add one more. So after showing this person, I want to add one more so that it's easy the next time you click next to move to the next person. And that's it. That's what happens when we enter into the tab. However, moving to next is a trickier method. So we want to first check. I don't want someone to go to the next when there's no next. So I'll check if the count of my list is greater than the index I'm asking to move to. So I'm asking to move to index 5 and my list has 3 items. It means I have only 0, 1, 2. Then it's a problem. So if the count is greater than index, meaning that there's something to move to because the count is the least, it must be greater than the index, and also that index is not less than 0. It's nice to check that. So the and, if that's the case, then I'm going to show these things. The txt view file name .text is the name of my controls on this other tab. So on this first tab, let's go to the first tab. On this first tab, I have controls txt first name, txt last name. However, on this other tab, I have other controls that are for viewing. So I named them separately. So since we know we can move to next, then we just pick whatever item is in that next. We get the first name property, get the last name property, and that's it. Else means that if there is no next to move to, either because this index is more or is less, then we just say this is the last person. How do we know it's the last person? Because the person clicked next, so we want to say it's the last person. Then immediately we make our scroll index to be the count of the array minus 1. So we want to position the scroll index to the last item so that we do not allow any chance of moving to the next one, to the next, because there's no next. So the last next should then be the last item. So this is the last item in the person array. So let's move to the next. Move to previous works similarly the same. When I want to go backwards, I want to be sure the index is at least 0. I also want to be sure that the index is at least less than or equal to the count, less than count. And if that's the case, then I'll do this. However, if that is not the case, then I will set it, because I'm moving previous, set the scroll index to 0 and say this is the first person. And you see how that too works. All right. So when the person now clicks, these are methods, of course. It's good for organization of our program. However, if the person then finally clicks next, what should I do? I'll just say move to next. I'll call that method and I'll give it the current scroll index of the class. Then I will increase the scroll index by 1. If the person says previous, I'll first remove 1 from the scroll index and I'll call move to previous. And these two methods now look very simple because we've had methods that can do the functionality of these tasks. All right. And that's it. I'm going to run it right now and again show you guys one more time how this works. All right. So you add stuff, you view stuff, you go next, 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 go back, 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 back until it says it's the first one. Fantastic. So the question then becomes, how do we edit and how do we delete something from a file? Now here's the algorithm. listen, and you can rewind this when you're watching this again. If I want to edit something, now that I know how to load everything, so what I've learned, I know that when I enter this form, let's see, this is how to read every line from the file. So all I have to do is to read the line, ask the person to specify the first name or the last name of whoever they want to edit, and when I read the line, I will now create a file somewhere, put the entries of the previous file into that new file until I find the actual entry that needs editing. I'll take whatever the user enters, put it in the new file, and continue. When I'm done, I'm going to then delete the old file and rename the new file as the old file. All right. Sounds like a lot, but don't worry. In C# file.delete method exists and rename method exists. So you can use those files. The same thing you do for edit is the same thing you do for delete. So these two things are so critical to your understanding of programming, especially for files, that I don't want to just put the code out there. I want you guys to try it as part of the tutorials for the to-do list app for the week. And if you struggle, speak to your tutors. And that's it for this video, for this week. See you guys on the other side. Boom.